So what we got to talk about is the bricks and minifigs situation, because there's a lot of stuff going online, and man, it's sort of crazy to see. Um, Sorry. The first thing that I just want to say is, I don't want this to sort of devolve into a political, side or whatever. It's a little bit difficult, but when you sort of look at the root cause of everything that happened, and it can sort of swing that way. I've I've read everything. I've looked at every single legal document, and I'm a neutral party to the entire thing. I'm not Mormon. I don't live in Utah. Um, I don't own a Bricks and Minifigs franchise or anything like that. But I think it's important that we really understand exactly what's happening here, because right now the public is sort of, I don't know, getting led on a wild goose chase, so to speak, and there's a huge red herring, and I don't know. Nobody's really talking about the actual facts here, and that's the problem. So what happened? Well, the Mansell family consigned a huge Lego collection in terms of monetary value. I don't know. We could call it 200,000. We could call it 100,000. It doesn't really matter, honestly. But call it whatever you want. Okay. Mansell family consigned a Lego collection to a Bricks and Minifigs store in Oregon, in Kaiser, and the previous store owners, or the store owners, because that's a franchise, right? So if wherever you live now, if you say, oh, well, I want to open a Bricks and Minifigs, store, you would just submit an application and say, this is, where I want to open one. And then, corporate would take a look and say, maybe not. Well, the previous store owners, again, we just have to look at the documentation that's available. And based on the documentation that's available, it does look like the previous store owners had significant financial problems. And that's why the store was repossessed. Okay. Now, I've looked at their lawsuit. I've looked at everything that the previous store owners have published and all that other stuff. Okay. At the end of the day, like they had money issues. Okay. And, the reasons for that is what's disputed. And, but nobody is disputing that they had money issues. They did. That's why the store was taken over in the first place. Okay. There also is a fact, like a problem. Well, I say a problem. There's a I don't know, a factor, if you will, in them being sort of, far left extremist, and having the belief that they needed to escape the USA, because that all plays a part. How's it going, guys? That all plays a part in this, and I'm not judging them. I'm not, I don't know them. It's a little bit weird, but to each their own. But they left. They went to Spain. I don't know, got divorced or didn't get divorced, but came back. But, the whole point of me mentioning that is that they were having money problems. So, I think it's relevant to say, well, hey, if you guys were having money problems and you already said that you dumped your life savings, what's the deal with going to Spain and then back? Where'd that money come from? These are just questions I have. But nonetheless, the Mansell family, with their Lego collection, consigned it, to the Kaiser, Oregon Bricks and Minifigs location. Those were the owners, okay? And so the store was taken over because of financial issues. That's the point where everything goes haywire. But when you look at the actual facts and the documentation surrounding the entire event, the collection was moved off site before that, supposedly, okay? Or I should say allegedly. And, there's an inventory list going around where some things have been made whole, some things have not been made whole, in terms of the Mansell family. So that's the dispute. The Mansell family has a Lego collection that they consigned to a Bricks and Minifigs location that was shut down or repossessed, whatever you want to call it. The Mansell family has not been made whole. They've not been, paid for the collection. They have not had the collection returned. The collection isn't, the actual collection is sort of disputed, but this entire situation is made very difficult because of Reckless Ben. I understand what Reckless Ben has been doing. He was trying to advocate for his family or for his friend. He wanted to bring, awareness to the issue, which he has. He wanted to help the Mansell family. But the issue with all of it, how Reckless Ben has been going about it, is that he's been making significant strategic mistakes along with significant legal mistakes and sort of making the situation really bad for him and not really helping the Mansell family. I understand that there's a narrative here, but, just step back and hear what I have to say. So the Lego collection dispute between the Mansell family and Bricks and Minifigs, that's the main and really only issue anybody should care about. What's going on, the legal situation between Reckless Ben and Bricks and Minifigs is a totally separate one. Yes, they may be related to Reckless Ben. They may be related to a lot of people online. But at the end of the day, legally, Reckless Ben has no part to play. He didn't even move anything. Is he part owner in this Lego collection? No. He's just somebody who was raising awareness, which again, it's respectable. I totally have massive respect. But the issue here is that Reckless Ben also did not tell the whole truth on some of the legal documentation, when he's making these videos. And I get it, man. He's trying to, gain followers. He's trying to help raise the awareness. He's trying to do what he sees as right. And, the issue here is that what a lot of people don't understand, especially the younger generation, right, is that when you're a business owner, man, these are like real people's lives. And yeah, like, hey, man, people can make death threats or whatever against me and anybody else. Hey, man, I'm a combat veteran, dude. I can deal with that. But the reality is that the rest of the normal population, dude, when they get like death threats, they get very scared and they shut down and they're scared to leave their house. They're scared to go to work. They're scared to do all of the normal things that people who are not in the limelight take for granted. So you can just imagine some, angry guy that you have no clue who he is coming into, a store that you have done, that you've worked really hard to open and to manage and to do all this other stuff. You're like, hey, give this guy back, his Lego collection. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about, man? I don't even know who you are, but that's really happening, but at sort of like a massive level. And so, I totally respect what Reckless Ben has been trying to do, but I think at this point, he should just step back. Look, man, he needs to fix the legal situation between him and Bricks and Minifigs, because he's going to lose. I assure you, he will lose. And it's not, hey, what's right versus what's wrong. This is the real world, man. This is like the big dog world. This is not a world for puppies, and with all respect to Reckless Ben, he's a puppy because he doesn't know about any of this stuff. Because if he did, he would have gone about things very differently. And again, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm trying to help him. If I was Reckless Ben, I would issue a video apology, a written apology, and say, I only want what's right for the Mansell family. The collection needs to be back, or they need to be made whole, whatever, and then step back completely from the situation. Because at this point, the only thing that he's doing is he's getting himself into very bad legal trouble because of the missteps that he's making. And it's not about, is he right or is Bricks and Minifigs right? This is just common sense in life, okay? So You can just go look at all of the documentation, and that's why he was arrested. Yes. Could the police have been a little bit corrupt? Sure, man. But the the police don't really ever operate like that. I live in Louisiana, and here Catholics are like the big religion. But even there, like even here, man, that's not how it operates, right? And so Reckless Ben's getting arrested. He's losing these legal battles. And I don't even know. They didn't have receipts. They didn't have inventory. They didn't have documentation that all had the chain of custody intact. Okay? What that means is that you can account one for one. So if the Mansell family has got a massive inventory list, then, the former store owners should be able to account for every single set that either still exists or was sold or returned or whatever. That they can't do that. That's the problem. That doesn't exist, and that is the nexus of the issue. Okay? I don't think that Bricks and Minifigs is denying that there was some consignment deal. I think they fully admitted that there was a consignment deal. Who cares if it's authorized by corporate? That didn't matter. So Bricks and Minifigs has said, yes, there was a consignment. Okay? A consignment arrangement. But the problem is the documentation. Okay? Where's all of the one for one? So if I have the Millennium Falcon Lego set on this inventory list, but I don't have records showing that I sold it, I don't have records showing that I gave it back to the Mansell family, what happened to it? That's the issue, man. And what people are wanting Bricks and Minifigs to do is to just say, oh yeah, we did repossess the store because the previous owners couldn't pay their bills, and we're just going to pay this arbitrary amount without doing any sort of due diligence. I think they're even going above and beyond to try to figure out exactly what was sold, what wasn't sold, what was returned, what wasn't returned, because all of that is not very clear. I'm sure the Mansell family has given Bricks and Minifigs documentation regarding that, but that's the issue, man. And so from my point of view, yeah, this whole, that the BAM CEO should fire that Joshua guy, whatever his name is. That guy is not a good. He don't want him to work. Like, that guy should not work for them. That guy is very unprofessional. Okay. I've heard all the phone calls. I've seen all the videos. I understand all of that. Okay. But again, you guys have to look at this. Everything that's happening with Reckless Ben is separate. That's totally different, because Reckless Ben is not playing. He already raised the awareness. That's the important part. But at this point, he's not doing anything to get justice for he's got no legal part here. He's got no moral part. He's got nothing. He's not a judge. He's not the arbiter. He doesn't decide anything. He's just some random guy. Now, if the Mansell family signed a deal with him or a contract to try to get this Lego set back, then that may be different. I don't think they have. So at the end of the day, what does all of this mean, man? This means that the previous store owners of the Kaiser Bricks and Minifigs location could not pay their bills because they did not have enough money. The corporate office said, okay, you're not paying your bills for whatever reason. We have to repossess the store to secure assets, to protect the money that we've either, helped you out with or whatever. That's what happens. That's the whole point of repossessing, property, is that the person who guaranteed the money or guaranteed a loan or whatever, they've got to go get money, based on that. And that's why it got repossessed. So former store owners who made that consignment deal with the Mansell family having massive money issues. Then they left those store owners who were already having money issues. Somehow they found money to to pick up and move completely to Spain and then back again. Maybe a divorce in there. I don't know. They're super activist, man. Like super far left activist. And, you know, whatever, if that's your, you know, flavor of politics, that's fine. But it's not, you know, some of the things that they've said on video are kind of like, ugh. You know, like it goes beyond normal politics, in my opinion. And, you know, none of that honestly matters. It's just trying to determine what exactly happened here. And so if I'm like a judge, if I'm just who's in the right, who's in the wrong, well, dude, if the former store owners who already were having money issues because they got their store repossessed, they're the ones who made the consignment agreement. They're the last ones who had eyes on this Lego collection. If I'm an investigator, my fingers are going to point at the previous store owners. And unless they can produce documentation where the chain of custody is not broken, they can produce all the receipts that say we sold this set from this inventory list on this day and that day. They can't do that. They are responsible. Now, what does that mean? Well, yeah, that's why Bricks and Minifigs is going about this through the legal route, and they've done a bad, I don't know if they're trying to, like, you know, keep their strategy hidden from the former owners, but like, dude, I'm telling you right now, to me, after looking at all of the facts, all of the everything, I'm going to say the former store owners either mishandled the collection, sold stuff and didn't market. And I don't want to speak to intention, right? But one way or the other, the responsibility is the former store owners. Not because of, oh, well, you know, we were in the process. No, man. They had done something with that collection before the repossession happened. Okay? And it's not, if they've done all this stuff that they don't even counter, they don't even deny happening, well, bro, that's not reasonable for the franchise or for the corporate office to just, oh yeah, you know, we are going to cover their wrongdoing. I think they're trying to help the Mansell family come to, you know, some sort of agreement, you know, and come out of pocket some money. That, I mean, that's what it seems like. I think that's what they're trying to do. I don't even think that they've ever been against that, but you have to understand that, just put yourself in their shoes, man. Okay. Look, let's just assume something. Let's assume that the former store owners did not purposefully sell off that collection and not record it. And, you know, they basically stole that collection. Let's just assume that that's what happened. Let's assume that they sold the stuff, took the money to move to Spain, and they're going to start a new life and all that other stuff, right? They already had their store repossessed. They have no money, but they have this Lego collection so they can sell it and they can get some money. And, you know, it takes a lot of money to travel, especially to Spain. And like, dude, if you guys have never tried to move, like if you want to move to Europe today, it costs a lot of money, especially from America, you know, but let's assume that's what happened, just for purposes of conversation. Well, corporate is, you know, coming into this situation like, oh, we're getting clues that this is what happened. Well, what do they do, man? Is it on them to just say, yeah, you know, this person committed a very egregious crime and basically stole this guy's Lego set? You know, is it on us 100% to cover everything? Because we don't even know exactly what's true and what's not true. You know, and then when we factor in people are, you know, going after them because they're Mormon, well, bro, hey man, that puts somebody like like people need to hear this, man. I get it. There's a stigma and reputation for, Christians and Mormons and everything else to be hateful and all. But hey, man, just step back. You can't sit there and go after somebody because of their religion, but then say, oh, well, I'm a protector of, minorities. I mean, come on, man. Let's just be reasonable. Let's be fair. Let's do what's right morally. Leave religion out of this, man. And let's just go off the facts. So, yeah, does Bricks and Minifigs have some liability? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Their name's on the building. 100%. Do they have full liability? No. And any reasonable person would never say that they're fully liable for that. But what needs to happen right now is that the Mansell family needs to have a conversation with the CEO, nobody else. Go straight to the CEO, say, look, man, this is what I gave, this is what I've got. I don't know where this other stuff is. I don't care. I'm just trying to get the money that I deserve, that I'm owed, or the Lego sets back. And that's what they should do. Nothing else honestly matters. Guys, don't boycott Bricks and Minifigs. Don't boycott them. That's I understand it's easy to hate on corporate and franchise businesses, but at the end of the day, those stores bring a great value to a community, not only because they do provide some jobs, and look, if you're into Legos, who the hell wouldn't want a job like that? If you're not into little figurines and miniatures, I mean, bro, that would be a great job for you. Who cares, honestly? Yeah, you're not going to make 50 or 100. Like, maybe you might make 50 grand. It depends on where you work. Excuse me, but they provide a good value and service to the community, because anybody who is into that stuff, they can go to Bricks and Minifigs, they can go to events, they can host releases, all that other stuff. And, I think that's important to understand. Trying to go after a brand because of what a franchise owner did wrong is not fair. The people who are in the wrong are the former store owners of the Kaiser location. That screwed Brian Mansell and his family. If they had done everything the right way, above board, there would be no dispute that we have the full inventory list. From there, we have unmessed with chain of custody for every set we sold, every set we didn't sell. This is the date we sold it. This is how much money we got. This is when we paid the Mansell family. They don't got that though, guys. That doesn't exist. Parts and pieces of it exist, but not the full picture. And then their point of sale system, again, that's why process and procedure matters. And, these are investigation tools and techniques to try to understand what happened. So at the end of the day, that's the whole situation. The former store owners mishandled, misplaced, did not follow proper procedure for basic business etiquette, for the Mansell family Lego collection. It doesn't matter what they say. If they had followed proper protocol, we would have the full inventory list with every set that was sold, every set, like the date, when they paid the Mansell family, all that jazz. That doesn't exist. It doesn't. It doesn't exist at all. Instead, we have partial paperwork. I've seen everything that exists. It's partial paperwork. And, instead of just being upfront and honest and saying, yeah, hey, look, this is what's happened, it's morphed into something completely different because, look, man, Reckless Ben got a good heart. He needs to go away. Step back. Do something else, because he's harming the situation, because it's completely hit like the legal situation at this point between Reckless Ben and Bricks and Minifigs, entirely separate. from the Mansell family. I assure you. Bricks and Minifigs, you know, like, and if they have a restraining order against the Mansell family, again, Bricks and Minifigs should drop that. That is a terribly dumb mistake. That's a bad move. They drop that and they just negotiate directly. That's it. Nobody else matters in this situation because it's the Mansell family's Lego collection. That's the update. That's the deal, man. Be fair to Bricks and Minifigs. Yeah, I get it. Their marketing team and, you know, their PR, they suck really bad. They mishandled this situation. And what should Bricks and Minifigs do? Well, they've already sort of published on their website all the facts that they have proof for. They should just, hey man, they should do a video. The CEO, nobody else. The CEO, Brian Mansell family. We do not want to work with anybody else. We want to work with you. We want to make things right. This is where we're at. We've communicated this to you. We are trying to do, like, this is a good faith effort on video for the world to see. We want to make you whole. We want to make you right. But it's important that we're honest that, you know, this isn't our fault at corporate. This is a former franchise owner. This is the result of their problem. But, you know, we want to make you whole. We want to make you right. And, you know, that's it, man. But that's what I would do. And I think I just think that I would, if whatever the total value of the collection is, if it's $50,000, then they should just give them $25,000. If it's $100,000, they should give them $50,000. You know, and just say, like, look, man, we are going to pursue the legal remedy for us, but you're a good guy. You've never done anything wrong to us. I understand this is highly upsetting, highly whatever. Dude, this is what we can offer you and only you. But, you know, and again, it's kind of outrageous that, like, the former store owner did a GoFundMe and got a lot of money. You people are giving the wrong family the money. Stop giving the former store owners money, man. You should be giving the Mansell family money. So that's it, dude. So, and I don't think the Lego collection, I don't even think the Mansell family has even ever said that it was worth $200,000. Whatever the value of the collection is, Bricks and Minifigs should just offer them half just to make him whole. That's reasonable. Nobody's gonna, you know, say that they're a bad, you know, company for trying to correct a store owner's a former store owner's mistake. Anyways, that's it, guys. Be safe. Be easy on Bricks and Minifigs. These dude, they're not a bad business, and they obviously offer a good and tremendous value to people in the hobby. And, you know, it's important to realize that. And I think what they're trying to do, but maybe everybody should realize, is that in the same light that Brian Mansell is a human being and he wants to get money for his father and all that other stuff, well, hey man, all these employees who work at the different Bricks and Minifigs, they're also human beings. They also have nothing to do with this situation, but they're being punished, you know, unjustly, because one person who by the way, and here's the other part about Reckless Ben. Reckless Ben completely undermined his entire argument when he responded to the CEO's claims, where Reckless Ben said, well, it could have been the previous store owners. I guess that's a possibility. Bro, you mean, and like, bro, that's a bad legal video for him to say. He's going to get crushed in court, I promise. The best lawyer in the world's not going to be able to save him because of how many mistakes he's made. Because here's sort of what it looks like, man. Reckless Ben just sort of went after Bricks and Minifigs. Just like, even if we say, okay, it's a good faith effort, well, how come he didn't go after the former store owners And then you just admitted, well, I guess it could have. What are you doing? You just destroyed yourself legally, bro. That's why I said, like I left a comment on ACOB or ACAB's video with Reckless Ben, like, bro, apologize publicly, make a video, just say you're sorry, that you handle it the wrong way, you want justice for the Mansell family, and that's what you were trying to do, and that you're sorry if you caused any problems with bricks and minifigs. You got to try to get it to go away, because Reckless Ben is going to lose every single court case, especially once, especially with that video evidence. Now, had Reckless Ben gone after the former store owners and bricks and minifigs, might be different. He didn't do that though, and that's the problem. So he sort of undermined his entire, I don't know, thing that he's been doing. So that's it, guys. You be safe. Take it easy. Take care. Later.